Welcome back to Daily World 60. This is our weekly deep dive where we slow down, take one big story, and unpack what really happened and why it matters. On June 18, 2026, at the Palace of Versailles, the United States and Iran signed a 14-point agreement that could end a war or collapse within 60 days. Let's get into it. On June 18, 2026, United States President Donald Trump and Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian signed a historic document at the Palace of Versailles in France. The document is called a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU. It has 14 points. It does not end the war between the US and Iran, but it marks the most significant diplomatic breakthrough in many decades. The war began on February 28, 2026, when the United States and Israel launched military strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities and military infrastructure. 70 days of fighting followed, including an Iranian blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical oil shipping route. Missiles struck U.S. bases across the region. Global energy prices spiked sharply. Pakistan served as the neutral mediator, shuttling between Washington and Tehran for months. At Versailles, Pakistan's Prime Minister co-signed the document alongside the two adversaries. Vice President J.D. Vance said Washington wants to turn over a new leaf in the Middle East. But within hours of the signing, Israeli warplanes struck targets in Lebanon, a sharp reminder that the road ahead is extremely fragile. Under the MU, both sides now have 60 days to negotiate a permanent peace deal. The clock is ticking. To understand this deal, we need to go back. The United States and Iran have been enemies since 1979, when Iranian revolutionaries stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and held 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. That event shaped 47 years of deep hostility. The modern crisis centers on Iran's nuclear program. In 2015, Iran signed a landmark agreement called the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which limited uranium enrichment in exchange for sanctions relief. International experts said it was working. In 2018, President Trump pulled the U.S. out, calling it the worst deal ever. Sanctions returned. Iran's economy suffered. In response, Iran began enriching uranium to higher and higher levels. By early 2026, Iran held 440 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60% purity, dangerously close to the 90% required for a nuclear weapon. In June 2025, things exploded. Israel and the United States struck Iran's nuclear sites in what became known as the 12-Day War. Iran retaliated, blocked the Strait of Hormuz, and fired missiles at U.S. military bases. Oil prices surged globally. By early 2026, Iran's economy was near collapse. Mass protests had swept more than 100 cities. Security forces killed at least 30,000 protesters, the worst crackdown since 1979. Weakened and isolated, Iran finally came to the negotiating table. So what exactly is in this 14-point Memorandum of Understanding? The agreement covers 4 main areas. First, nuclear weapons. Iran formally commits in writing that it shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons. It agrees to downblend its stockpile of 440 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium, mixing it with lower-grade material under supervision from the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA. Iran may still enrich uranium for civilian electricity, but the exact permitted level must be agreed within the 60-day window. Second, the Strait of Hormuz. Iran agrees to reopen this vital waterway to commercial shipping with no fees charged for 60 days. About 20% of the world's oil supply passes through this narrow passage every single day. Third, sanctions relief. The United States will immediately issue waivers allowing Iran to export crude oil again. Iran produces around 3 million barrels per day, most of which had been blocked by US sanctions for years. Fourth, economic reconstruction. The deal references a possible international fund of at least $300 billion for Iran's rebuilding and economic development. Crucially, who pays and under what conditions remains completely unresolved. The United States also agrees to lift its naval blockade of Iranian ports upon signing. Both sides commit to maintaining the current status quo while formal negotiations continue. Every major player at this table has very different goals. Donald Trump frames the deal as proof that his maximum pressure strategy worked. By backing a war Iran could not win militarily, he argues, he forced Tehran to negotiate on American terms. Trump told the New York Times he wants a final agreement limiting Iran to enrichment levels that could never be used by the military. Masoud Pezeshkian, Iran's reform-minded president, has long argued his country must escape its economic isolation. After years of sanctions, a devastating war, and brutal crackdowns that killed at least 30,000 protesters, he had very little room left to maneuver. For Iran, this deal is fundamentally about survival. J.D. Vance, the U.S. vice president, was initially skeptical of going to war with Iran at all. He is now leading the diplomatic push in Switzerland, calling publicly for a genuine fresh start in relations. Pakistan played a critical, largely invisible role. As a Muslim-majority nuclear power trusted by both Washington and Tehran, it was uniquely positioned to earn both sides' confidence. And then there is Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister, the most powerful figure not at the table. Israel is not a party to this MOU. Netanyahu insists Israel's struggle is not over and views any arrangement leaving Iran's military capabilities intact as a direct and existential security threat. The deal almost fell apart before the ink was dry, and Lebanon is the reason. Since March 2026, Israel has been fighting Hezbollah, the powerful Iran-backed militant group, across Lebanon. By mid-June 2026, the offensive had killed more than 4,000 people. Israeli Chief of Staff General Eyal Zamir called the ceasefire with Iran fragile and said troops must remain ready to renew combat activity. When Israeli airstrikes continued even after the MU signing, Iran reacted with fury. Tehran postponed the follow-up technical talks scheduled in Switzerland, saying it could not negotiate seriously while its closest regional ally was under military attack. This reveals a core problem for Washington. The United States signed a deal with Iran, but cannot easily control Israel's military decisions. Trump said publicly he was not happy with how Israel handled Lebanon, but he did not order a halt to the strikes. Israel's ultranationalist National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir was direct. Israel is not subject to the United States. He demanded Hezbollah's complete dismantling and refused any Israeli withdrawal from captured Lebanese territory. Prime Minister Netanyahu said Israel's struggle is not over. PBS and NBC News reported that Israel and Hezbollah eventually agreed to a new ceasefire, but the episode damaged U.S.-Iran trust at an extremely critical moment in the negotiations. This deal's stakes extend far beyond the Middle East. First, nuclear proliferation. If Iran were ever to build a nuclear bomb, experts warn it could trigger a chain reaction. Saudi Arabia has signaled it would seek its own nuclear capability if Iran gets one. Egypt, Turkey, and others could follow. A verified, sustained agreement with Iran could stop that chain before it starts. Second, global energy. Iran's wartime blockade of the Strait of Hormuz sent oil and gas prices surging worldwide. Shipping companies rerouted cargo around the southern tip of Africa, adding weeks and thousands of dollars per shipment. A stable, open Hormuz benefits every economy on Earth. Third, the people of Iran. Ordinary Iranians have endured decades of sanctions, two major conflicts within a year, and a government that killed tens of thousands of protesters in the streets. The promise of $300 billion in reconstruction investment, if it materializes, would be transformational for a nation with a GDP of roughly $400 billion. Fourth, the signal to the world. If the United States and Iran, hostile enemies for 47 years, can agree on a peace framework, it shows that even the most entrenched diplomatic conflicts can have an exit. The Atlantic Council calls this a potential turning point that could reshape the Middle East for an entire generation. The 60-day negotiating window that opened on June 18th will close around August 17, 2026, unless both sides agree to extend it by mutual consent. On June 21st, Vice President J.D. Vance arrived in Geneva, Switzerland for technical-level talks. The agenda is demanding. Negotiators must agree on Iran's permitted uranium enrichment level going forward. They must decide what happens to Iran's existing stockpile of 60% enriched uranium. They must set a concrete timeline for lifting U.S. sanctions. And they must address Iran's broader regional network, including Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Prediction markets are cautiously optimistic. The platform Paul market currently puts the probability of a permanent peace deal before the end of 2026 at around 60 to 65%, significant, but far from certain. The risks are real. A large Israeli strike in Lebanon could push Iran to leave the table entirely. Hardliners in Tehran could block any final agreement. A political crisis in Washington could derail the process completely. The world has been here before. The JCPOA was celebrated in 2015 and abandoned in 2018. Trust between these two countries is thin. But something is different now. For the first time in decades, the United States and Iran are talking directly, face to face. Both sides have signed their names. That alone is historically significant and a reason for careful, cautious hope. Today's word, memorandum. A formal written document that records an official agreement or understanding between two parties. If you want to go beyond the headlines and truly understand the stories shaping our world, subscribe for weekly deep dive every Saturday and share this with someone trying to make sense of the Middle East.